رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. The request for Surah Fatiha for Marhuma Anjuman Zaidi bint Syed Muhammad Jafar. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين وبالقاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات بجمع. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. As this is the Eisaal sawab majlis for the Barsi of Marhuma, for whom we recited Surah Fatiha, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to elevate the status of this lady, this Marhuma, and give her a place in the Jivar of Masumeen alayhi salatu wassalam. And on the same note, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give sabr to the bereaved family, although a year has passed, but still a loss of a mother, a loss of a figure whom children always look up to is irreplaceable and is constantly there. And it serves as a purpose for those who still have this opportunity to serve their parents and serve their mothers especially, that don't squander this opportunity that you have. Make sure that you're able to use this as a means of earning not just sawab, but also this is your duty. And therefore, while you're doing an obligation, you're also getting rewarded for it. And the reward is, something which you cannot put numbers on it. And it says, if you were to count the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لا تحصوها وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها. If you were to count the bounties of Allah, you will not be able to, put a number on it. You will not be able to enumerate them. And similar is the case when it comes to being kind and doing good towards the parents, and especially towards the mother, because the ayat of Quran says that وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ, that we have done wasiyat to insan in reference to his parents. And then right after this wasiyat, the ayat shifts towards mother, especially toward his mother, because how she carried him wahnan ala wahnin for that, period of 9 months, and fisaluhu, but the time actually continued up until 3 years, 24 months to 3 years, where she would provide, she would take care of the child and all those things. And therefore a person came to the Prophet and he said, I do everything for my mother, which means she's very old, she can't do anything by herself. So I provide for her, I feed her, I clothe her. Even for the ziyarat or even for the hajj, I took her for hajj and I carried her on my back. And I did all of those things. Have I compensated for what she did for me? Rasulullah said, not even for one instance that she carried you in her womb. Not even for that one instance that she carried you in her womb, that you have paid off or taken care or compensated for what she did for you. And to understand that, how is that? He said, when she was providing for you, when she was clothing you, when she was feeding you, when she was doing all of these things, she was doing it out of her love to you. And every time she would do it, it would not be a matter of annoyance for her, that she would say, well, how long is this going to last? And she was doing it purely ikhlasan, khulus, for your sake, and she was not looking for any compensation either afterwards. Whereas when you are doing it, constantly you're thinking, how long is this going to last? How much more do I have to do? And you're counting days, how long this will continue. And at the same time, you're waiting for reward and compensation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for every act that you're performing. So there's a huge difference when she did what she did for you while you were young and what you're doing for her at this moment. And you have not paid for even that one instance that she carried you in her womb. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The ayat that I recited, I've recited those verses before. It's from Surah Fajr, chapter number 89 from the Holy Quran, the last 4 ayat, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna, O the serene soul, irja'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardhiya, return to your Lord in the state that you are satisfied with it, and He is satisfied with you. Fadkhuli fi ibadi, be amongst my servants, or enter into being a servant of Allah. Wadkhuli jannati, and enter into my paradise. These 4 segments in this chapter known as Wal Fajr, chapter 89 from the Holy Quran. If you look from the very beginning, that this chapter begins with a qasam, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath by Fajr time, dawn as we call it. The time which is a time when it was asked that when does this time belong to? Is it in the morning? Is it in the daytime, or is it the night? Because you have 2 times. You have the nighttime or you have the daytime. Masoom responded by saying that it neither belongs to day nor the night. In fact, the time of Fajr belongs to the time of paradise. This is the time when even the person who's been struggling all night in pain finds relief. Someone who's been up all night could not, find any sleep. This is the time even they fall asleep. So this time does not belong to the day or the night. So therefore it is worth swearing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, taking an oath by this time, wal fajr, by the dawn, walayalin ashr, and by the 10 nights. Now there's a discussion as to what are these 10 nights. But before I get to these 10 nights, let's look at all of the times that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken an oath by. You have wal fajr, you have was subh, you have wal duha, you have wal nahar, you have wal asr, you have wal layl. There isn't a time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't taken an oath by, or hasn't used it for qasam. This tells you that how important time is in reference to human beings. That this time is of essence. This time is something, if we realized the worth of it, we would not squander it. To the extent that a person, and usually this slang, that where this person who was selling ice, he would say, Irhamu man yadhubu ra'su maleh. That have mercy on someone whose capital, whose investment is melting away. And that capital, that melting away, this ice that he was selling, if don't buy it on time, it will melt into water. And that water has no value, none whatsoever. I mean, it has value, but not as much as the ice does. So he won't be able to earn anything from it. So he said, have mercy. He said the example is for our lives. That how our lives are gradually melting, and we're melting it toward our death. Therefore, make sure that you utilize it before it completely melts away and there's nothing left in it. which is worth, which has any sort of value. So this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala utilizes this point by swearing and taking an oath by all of the different times that are mentioned. Fajr, subh, duha, nahar, asr, and as well as layl. The second part of the ayah says, وَاللَّيْلِ وَاللَّيَالٍ عَشْرٍ, and by the 10 nights. What are these 10 nights? Majority of the Mufassirin believe that it is the last 10 nights of this month of Ramadan. Why last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan? Because in Shahr Ramadan, الَّذِي أُنزِلَ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنِ, in which the Quran was revealed in the last 10 nights. And these are the 10 nights which later on the ayat goes ahead and says, وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ وَالشَّفْعِ وَالْوَتْرِ. Not only the odd, but not only the even, but also the odd. But primarily we are given, as far as the clue for which night is the night of Qadr, it says, seek the night of Qadr in the last 10 nights amongst the odd nights. And therefore we go ahead and do the amal on the night of the 19th, the 21st, and as well as the 23rd. More emphasis was placed on the night of 23rd. When a person asked the Ma'asum that it is very difficult for me because I live outside of the city of Medina to come in every day, which is the night that you tell me which is the night that I shouldn't miss out of these three. Imam said, don't miss the night of 23rd. But go ahead and utilize all of these 3 nights so that you can benefit from it being the night of Qadr. And then it says, وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ وَالشَّفْعِ وَالْوَتْرِ. So these 10 nights are, the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. Some mention that these are the first 10 nights of the month of Zilhajj, leading up to the Hajj Marasim. And some even mention that the misdaq of Ya Ayyatuhan Nafsul Mutmainna is Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam, that this could be referring to the 10 nights of the month of Muhurum. That the first 10 nights of the month of Muhurum, beginning from the first, going up to the day of Ashur, the tragedy of Karbala, all that happening, this is one of the masadiq and the manifestations of Ya Ayyatuhan Nafsul Mutmainna. Therefore this Layalin Ashr could also be referring to the first 10 nights of the month of Muharram al-Haram. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. But if you look at the entire surah, there's a mention of 3 groups of people. There's Qawm Fir'aun, there's Qawm Ad, and Thamud. And how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dealt with these people. Why, first of all, give example of these 3 aqwam? Because they were very advanced. They were very strong. They possessed extraordinary abilities for what they were able to do. But at the same time, with all the advancement that they had made, carving houses inside the mountains. Why it was important? Because that was your survival. If you were at height, you would be able to safeguard yourself better than living on the ground. Why do you think the animals and the birds don't make their houses on the ground? They make it on higher elevations. So therefore, these people used to carve houses inside the mountains so they can, secure themselves and safeguard themselves. And their advancement was just out of the world because how, at that time, not having any resources to be able to build such a thing. It was remarkable. But when they were busy with all of these advancements, they forgot about the very basic things. What were those basic things? The ayat of Quran mentions the reason that they were destroyed. That they did not take care of the yatim at that time. And they did not take care of those who were the destitute at that time. وَتَأْكُلُونَ التُّرَاثَ أَكْلًا لَمَّا. And then they usurped the wealth of the yatim, as if there's no tomorrow. وَتُحِبُّونَ الْمَالَ حُبًّا جَمًّا. And they had the love for the wealth and, the riches, وَحُبًّا جَمًّا, where there's nothing could be compared to it. So there's nothing wrong in, there's nothing wrong in earning it, but the fact that you fall in love with it. So there were 4 instances were mentioned why these aqwam were destroyed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was because of their own doing. The ayah says, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows something, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has honored me. Akramani. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes something away, He has disgraced me. Indeed, it is the case that when He is given to you, you are heedless of your duties because you think everything is coming your way. You don't have to worry about anyone else. The moment Allah makes it hard upon you, فَقَدَّرَ عَلَيْهِمْ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانًا. As soon as He made it tight upon you, it's difficult. قَدَّرَ, it is bound, there's taqdeer in it. Right away you start saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has disgraced me. Did you forget the time when it was coming freely toward you? And at that time, you did not take care of the yatim, you did not take care of the masakeen, and you in fact went ahead and usurped their wealth, and you had that love for the riches. All of these three nations were destroyed because of these four reasons that were mentioned in Surah Fajr. Coming to these ayat, that, oh, nafs mutma'in, return to your Lord. There are many manifestations of this nafs mutma'in. One, as I mentioned already, is the Zat and the Zat-e-Girami of our third Imam, Imam Hussein ibn Ali alayhima salatu wasalam. That there was this Nidai Asmani on the day of Ashur. The similar ayat was heard. Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna. Oh, the satisfied soul. And this is where Imam Hussein concluded his battle, concluded his struggle, concluded his jihad, and he submitted to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this ayat is one of those manifestations. Irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardhiya. Oh Hussein, stop the battle. Why? And return to your Lord. Why should you return to your Lord? Because He is satisfied with you. While you are satisfied with your Lord, having come to this battlefield, having sacrificed all of your family, having given everything for the sake of this religion, and you are satisfied with it. You said, oh Lord, you never said for one moment, you never hesitated for one moment, you never said, oh Lord, maybe I can leave my family back. Oh Lord, maybe, there's no killing. Maybe there's no bloodshed. Oh Lord, maybe this doesn't happen. You never asked for any sort of discount. The moment you were chosen for this task, you said labbaik and you came. And therefore, irji'i ila rabbiki. Return to your Lord in the state that you are satisfied with Him. And not only that, He is satisfied with you. Over here, every single one of us, we would say that we are satisfied with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Inshallah, hopefully we can say that. That we are satisfied with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That whatever He has written for us, inshallah, we're content with it. That He wants this to be part of our life, we are content with it. That is where you go ahead and show what? Satisfaction in the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That what He has given to me, He may have given more to someone else, but I'm okay with it because that's what Allah has chosen for me. And whatever He has not given to me, I'm okay with it because that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen for me. So to an extent, all of us are satisfied with the decree of Allah. So we can say that we are raadhi with the qada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With the qadar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That which He has chosen for us. But then the real skill is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I am raadhi with you, O servant, as well. That He turns around and He tells you that while you are satisfied with what I have done for you, I am satisfied with what you have done for me as well. If that could be done, then you understand that you have best of both worlds. We see that every individual human being on the face of the earth is trying to satisfy Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but there are certain human beings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to satisfy them. And that's why He says, وَلَا سَوْفَ يُؤْتِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. And qareeb, very soon, God will give you something, O Prophet, which will satisfy you. This is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to satisfy His Habib, His Mahbub, His beloved. And when was this satisfaction achieved? When He says, إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ. That, O Habib, we have given you Kawthar. O Habib, we have given you in abundance. O Habib, was there abundance of wealth? O Habib, we have given you a daughter by the name Fatimatu Zahra, Salamullahi alayha. Because there's khayr kathir in Fatimatul Zahra. People are saying that you are abtar. No, they're your enemy. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Your enemy is abtar. You will be bestowed a progeny. A legacy will continue from you, and you will be given children through this Fatima. And there will be remain. Your name will remain. In fact, your enemy's name will be vanished and disappeared. So this is where the promise is being made. Irja'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardhiya. Next part is fadkhuli fi ibadi. Become my servant. Enter into my servitude. We have misunderstood or partially not understood completely the aspect of servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That how important it is to be ibad of Allah, servants of Allah. You remember the story of Bishr Hafi in the time of 7th Imam. That Imam went past his house, heard the sound of music coming from inside the house, knocked on the door. A kanis came out. Imam said, whose house is this? He said, so and so. Imam said, is he a free man or is he a slave? She arrogantly responded, he's a free man. At that time, knowing that someone was azad or, someone was a slave was a big thing. He said, no, alhamdulillah, he's a free person, free man. Imam said, I wish he was a slave. And Imam left. She came back. Bishr asked him, what took you so long? He says, a man knocked on the door and he asked about you. And he said, I wish he was a slave and not a free man. Bishr understood who that man was. And that's why he got this name, Bishr Hafi, because he ran barefoot. He ran barefoot after Imam and he said, oh Imam, is there any tawbah for me? Imam said, yes. He said, be a servant of Allah. Don't go against His commands. The sound of music that I heard from your house, it is better to be a servant of Allah than be a free man and not obey the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the servitude was from the aspect of being the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll bring it you towards the conclusion. Fadkhuli fi ibadi. This ubudiyat is very important. That when we make ourselves to be abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are putting ourselves in the category of the likes of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam. Kana Nuhan abdan shakura. Hazrat Nuh was an abd who was thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, when you recite your tashahhud, you say, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. That I bear witness that Muhammad is the abd of Allah and then he is the Rasul. And that famous word of Amirul Mu'mineen, Ilahi kafa bi izzan an akuna laka abdan. It is enough for my izzat that I am your abd, that I am your servant. Wa kafa bi fakhran an takuna li rabban. And it is enough for my pride that you are my Lord. Anta kama uhib faj'alni kama uhib. You are how I want you to be, make me how you want me to be. And lastly, this ayah says, Fadkhuli jannati, and enter into my paradise. Amirul Mu'mineen said that the price tag of your souls is nothing less than paradise. فَلَا تَبِعُوهَا إِلَّا بِهَا. Don't do the mu'amila of your nafs unless this mu'amala is ending up in doing mu'amala with the paradise. So that is the only compensation for your nufus. Nothing less should be taken as far as your nafs is concerned. We look at this ayat and these ayat and we find that Imam Hussein was being addressed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At that point where Imam is surrounded by the enemies. And Imam puts away his weapon and he surrenders to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he was attacked from all janib, from all the directions. This is where they saw the opportunity enemy to throw whatever they had in their hands toward Imam. If someone had a sword, they struck Imam with sword. If someone had a spear, they threw a spear toward Imam. If someone didn't have anything, they threw stones toward Imam. To the extent when all the arrows were pierced through his body, it was mentioned that 1900 pierces had been made into the body of Imam. And when his body came down from the horse, it was not completely touching the ground because of all of the arrows that pierced through his body. But Imam said to his horse that one last time, take me to the place of my burial. Take me the place which is my masjid, which is my last resting place, because this is not the place. I would say, oh Imam, how do you know which is the last place? And how will you be able to identify that place in this maqtal? Imam would respond by saying that my mother, Fatimatul Zahra, was here and she was cleaning that place with her own hair. And she marked that place that my Hussein will come down on the battlefield of Karbala, and this is the place where he will be buried. Ala lanatullah al-qawm al-zalimin wa sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayyamun qalbin yanqalibun. Oh Allah, please accept our ibadah tonight. Oh Allah, we've committed a lot of sins, please forgive our sins. Oh Allah, hasten the zuhur of our awaited Imam. Make us amongst the helpers and the soldiers of Imam. Please recite a Surah Fatiha for the marhuma Anjuman Zaidi bint Syed Muhammad Jafar.